Steven,
Yes.
look who came crawling back to the show.
I didn't come crawling back. I sprinted to my couch
Oh, look
to
at you.
to join the show again. I was very excited. I got a lot to get off my chest. And you know how right before we came on I asked you what episode this was?
Uh-huh.
I forgot that there's a title that goes over the tweet that we have. So
Ah.
it's JYOM dash
Uh-huh.
episode.
Ah.
So
I mean, we can treat this as an episode or an experience or life moment.
yeah.
We're not doing hot sauce today because I'm feeling it. This is the closest thing to well, I mean, I could do a show high, but I'm not going to. This is the closest thing to doing a show high. I am coming down off of the booster shot. And woo, let's go, baby.
It is fitting you have that hood on. You look like death.
I do. I feel like the Emperor from Star Wars. Death is around the corner for me.
Well, you're getting, you got the booster though, so you got that ultimate power.
Oh yeah, ultimate power. Ultimate power. But yeah, Steven. Hello everybody. Welcome to Just Your Opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. I will try to get through this.
Such a mess.
And it's cold as shit in my apartment, so nothing's worse than being sick and being cold. So I'm bumbled. I have like so many fucking layers on. I got this Warriors jacket on, got this onesie on, got this little thing underneath. I am cold. All right, here we go. Steven, how was last week filling in for the morning show? You hosted all week with Lorenzo Neal. Did you get crazy?
Got crazy. I couldn't believe that I was hosting a show with someone who I used to yell profanities at a Raider game because he would break my heart. So in the middle of it, I was just, I was at first I'm working with Lo, who I used to produce for and do all that. But then I realized I'm not just producing with a guy I used to work with. I'm hosting with somebody who I used to hate when I was like, who is that guy? But
he used to torment Kirk Morrison.
Yes,
but fuck the shit out of him.
But he was great. A lot of fat jokes. A lot of fat jokes in that one. It was an ongoing thing.
Calling you fat?
Yeah, the text line got involved in it. The callers. He opened up every show with a fat boy. But because when I first started out doing updates on the air, there was one time because I'm sitting behind the glass and he was always facing forward, so he never looked at me really. He looked at me, but he didn't look at me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the first time I ever did an update and I went inside the studio, I was just getting ready and I'm kind of nervous. I'm shaking, and that's of course the first thing he mentions is that I'm shaking, and then he
of course he would,
and then he goes, "Steven, you fat."
Oh my
he's
god!
Like, I know you're skinny, but you're fat. Like, damn, Lo. Like, thanks. I'm about to do this in 30 seconds, and you're already putting weight on top of me, and then the shaking thing. So it was a lot the first time first time I ever did an update, but we made it through the week. We had a good one, and John Madden's passing really, it took up a lot of the show. We had Amy Trask. We had George Atkinson.
George.
Yeah, he was great. And then what else we had? And then we had the Kyle Shanahan, Jimmy Garoppolo thumb thing for a lot of the beginning of the week. And then in the back portion of it, we didn't really have any more news. It got kind of tiring after a while talking about, who do you want to see, Jimmy or Trey, and all this stuff. And eventually we just got to, television show binging and what you've been watching and all that stuff. And
what's Lo watching these days? Is he watching MacGruber?
Not watching much.
Huh.
Not much. I was kind of informing him on these new TV shows. He kept on telling me about like these CW shows, like Arrow and all those.
I was gonna ask, does Lo like me? I'm old school. I'm not gonna make fun of Lo for this, but Lo seems like a cable guy. Not like a literal Jim Carrey cable guy, but he seems like he still has cable. Yeah. And I still have cable, but in order to enjoy some good shit, you got to have streaming apps. So I figured Lo for not a streaming guy.
Yeah, he was recommending Blue Bloods.
Is that the cop show?
Yeah, he was recommending the actually
Golden Girls.
yeah, exactly. Oh, R.I.P. Betty White.
R.I.P. Betty White.
So we had an eventful week, and I'm just gonna tell a story here from George Atkinson. It was pretty funny. But I watched the Football Life documentary the day before we went on, the one on Madden.
Yep.
And first off, the thing that cracked me up about that was the opening scene when he's talking about his relationship with John Robinson.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of them, just both of them holding ice cream and
Yeah.
smiling to the camera. It's a nice picture. And then he says, and then he just starts rambling about this game they used to play called Bites.
Yeah.
And then he's like, we'd hold the ice cream cone and you'd say bites. And if you said bites, then you'd get a bite. You say no bites, you don't get a bite. And then he said, John Robinson was the only guy I knew who would have bites after you spit on it. Anyway, so George, I asked him about the that quote, don't worry about the horse being blind, just load the wagon. Because he said he used to say that to his team all the time. So I asked George about that, and he finished off the quote first of all, so he knew exactly where I was going, and then he said, "Yeah, so he said we were at halftime, we were playing the Chiefs, and one time he said, we were down like 21-0, and he said, don't worry about the horse being blind, just load the wagon, and we all went crazy, and we had no idea what the hell he was talking about, and he said, I went up to him and I said, hey, Coach, like, what does that quote mean? What does it mean? And he goes, I don't know. I just said it. so that was kind of a highlight for sure.
Yeah. I heard Chuck Noll used to do things like that back in the day where he would say something philosophical and everybody's like, the hell is he talking about?
Yeah.
Did you see the All Madden documentary that came out on Christmas Day?
No, I need to.
You can. I think it's on Hulu or whatever it's on right now. It's streaming somewhere. But
it is available.
It is available. And the best story of that documentary, along with a great quote that Bill Belichick said about I have the quote here. I said it last week on the podcast, but this is just a great quote. I'll bring it up. But to just talk about the story, they had Brett Favre on, and Brett Favre is talking about how him and John Madden had such a close relationship.
Yeah.
And he's talking about his family, and John Madden got to know his family, his Uncle Roo. And apparently, they say this in the documentary, Uncle Roo was known for his gigantic ball sack. And he tells John Madden this. So the next day, they're doing the game. It's the Cowboys and the Packers. And Reggie White gets a sack on Troy Aikman. And John Madden goes, oh, one of those Uncle Roo sacks. And then it cuts to Madden today being like, I can't talk about that.
Yeah.
But the quote is, when you as a coach win, you're a genius. But when you look at it, you're a guy that was a PE major in college. Your best class was recess. And then you become a coach. You go from being good at recess to being a genius.
Yeah.
That's the quote that Bill Belichick just started cracking up at.
Oh, man, that's great.
'Cause it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. All of it.
Yeah. Last week was weird. Me and Alon did the podcast, and he filled in great. And he lost to me actually in our picks contest. So we'll have to have Alon come back and do hot sauce or whatever he wants to do. We'll bring him on. But we got the news during the podcast about John Madden's passing, and I was kind of taken aback by it because he's getting up there in age, but just the timing of it was crazy. It was 2 days after the documentary aired, and we got a few scares over the years. I was lucky to meet him. You were there at the old bocce ball tournament in Fremont, and you took a couple of pictures unflattering of me and my huge gut.
Well, funnily enough, Derek, I wasn't really focused on you as I was taking the photo. I was focused I was focused on the legend in front of you.
Unlike me, where I was focusing on my phone and not on John Madden.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, the audio was cutting out.
Yeah.
But yeah, sad to hear about John Madden, but I thought the tributes to him have been amazing. So rest in peace, John Madden, and watch the documentary if you guys can. But let's get to some actual football, Stephen, and it's fitting that the Raiders won last Sunday in John Madden's honor. It always feels like when the Raiders have something happen, whether it's, Al Davis's passing or John Gruden and his stuff. And then John Madden, they rise to the occasion. And, football doesn't solve all the problems of death or anything, but it's, a good thing, a good ode to take your mind off of what's going on in the world. So Raiders, once again, send a nice tribute to John Madden by getting the win against the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, but this time, I mean, the Al Davis one, that was against the Texans.
Yeah.
And the one with John Gruden, who was the first team that they played?
Broncos.
They played the Broncos, not exactly, top teams within the AFC. But this one was against the Colts.
Yep.
This one was against, an AFC championship contender. It's a little different than the other two. A little different. I still can't believe they won. I don't know how they won.
Well, yeah, last week we talked about it, and I think the key factor was that Carson Wentz got COVID. And you could say the Raiders have benefited from, the teams they played getting COVID, whether it was the Browns and they're down to Nick Mullins. Then Carson Wentz, he's cleared by Sunday, but the whole week he doesn't practice. So he looked rusty. He looked like a guy that didn't practice all week. I don't know if that was the determining factor in the game, but it helped. It helped that Carson Wentz was off that game. And to give up 108 yards to Jonathan Taylor and still win the game, it was just a good defensive game plan. They let the run happen, but they didn't let anything else beat them. They didn't give up touchdowns.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought, they established everything from the get-go with running the ball, and I think that's going to be their bread and butter going forward. I know Zay Jones had a big game, but I don't know if that's going to be a weekly occurrence. So if they can find a way to ride on Josh Jacobs to get into the playoffs, I think that's the way they need to go going forward.
And Hunter Renfrow.
Yep.
And Hunter Renfrow. You're right. You can't expect, you can't give Zay Jones 10 targets every single game. You can't do it. And you can't expect him to get over 100 yards every single game. But I thought a key factor in it as well, in the fact that the Raiders just were able to get points. But dude, Daniel Carlson's been lights out this season. Every single game. I've never felt more comfortable having a guy be the field goal kicker. I've never been more comfortable with a guy getting 3 points. I have with
Jano.
I have with Jano before, but Jano wasn't always the most accurate.
You're right.
You could kick a field goal with him from 55 yards out, and then of course the commentators would go chip shot. But but with Carlson, no matter the moment, the dude doesn't miss. I feel like a Ravens fan, or maybe a Patriots fan when Vinatieri was doing his thing, or Justin Tucker. That's what I'm talking about. It feels good to have a kicker you can rely on, because he's been needed in so many of these games. I mean, he didn't single-handedly, because it's such a team sport, he didn't single-handedly get the win over the Cowboys, but he accounted for, 6 field goals, I think, in that game?
Yeah.
18 of the points that the Raiders scored. All throughout the season, he's been clutch. And then the field positioning, too. The Raiders had good field position a lot of the game. A lot of good punt returns from Hunter Renfrow. Yeah. And then like you mentioned, the defense getting stops. Looks like they got something. I think with that rookie Divine Diablo, number 5. I think they got something with him. He made some plays in that game yesterday. And I don't know how, but Casey Hayward Jr., even though he's not that big of a guy in stature, they did not go to Michael Pittman Jr. for whatever reason, and that's kind of your go-to guy. Even though your run game was working, you still want to get the pass game going, and they weren't able to do it. I was shocked that they won that game.
Besides the T.Y. Hilton ridiculous pass that got batted up at the air and he caught it on the ricochet, they really didn't have a passing game. No. And it was just the fact that Carson Wentz just didn't look good, and he probably didn't trust. There probably wasn't a connection established with Michael Pittman on this game plan, so they just, fed the rock by running it, and Carson Wentz looked rusty. But you got to give it up to Derek Carr, man. I know that there's a lot, discussed year after year about is he the guy? Is he the guy? And they're in the playoff situation, man. They win on Sunday, and they're in. And I can't believe we're talking about that through all of the bullshit that we've discussed this season, from John Gruden to Henry Ruggs to now Nate Hobbs. And I'll get to Nate Hobbs a little later. But Derek Carr, man, you could say he doesn't win in the cold, and he makes dumb decisions sometimes, but you can't deny that sometimes he is very clutch. And he came in with that game tied up at 20. I don't know what his fourth quarter numbers are in his career, but you can make the argument that Hunter Renfrow scored that touchdown. It was by the slimmest of margins that Kenny Moore touched him on the back of the cleat, but in the end, they get the win, so who cares? I thought it was a great game by Derek Carr. Bad turnovers to start, but he held the game going. It's kind of like Matthew Stafford, where you shit the bed, doing bad interceptions or fumbles in the first half, and then you get together in the second half. And I thought Derek Carr was very poised and won that game for the Raiders.
Somehow the fourth quarter comeback, because those are the two stats that Carr and Stafford have been linked to, is their ability to come back in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Stafford kind of showed it in this past game against the Ravens. And I think he's got like 11 touchdowns and no interceptions or something in the fourth quarter. Matt Stafford, that is. I'd have to dig up those numbers on Carr, but I got nothing bad to say about this dude after everything he's gone through and not being with Darren Waller on the field. Darren Waller did not play, and somehow he was making it work with Zay Jones and Hunter Renfrow. And that final play that he had to Renfrow, it was unreal. That game had everything. And it's funny. Like, when you're looking at the Derek Carr, when you're looking at Raider fans or people analyzing Derek Carr, there are two sides to it. And Carr showed both sides. The people who like Carr, they're the ones who know that, first off, he could throw the football. He's got an arm. That's number one. Number two, he can win games. He can win you games. He's proven that he can do that. But on the other side, there were a lot of frustrating plays in that one. Escaping out of the pocket and trying to throw across his body and make something out of nothing. And it was like that a little bit in that game. And those interceptions that he threw, that one to Darius Leonard, it feels like we've seen that type of interception before from Carr, and that's something that frustrates a lot of people. But he got the
defense
win, man.
came up big, not having anything come out of that interception.
Right.
Yannick Ngakoue gets the sack. I just wrote that down as a pivotal moment where even Carr messed up. This defense held strong and nothing benefited from that interception.
Right. If you give him an opportunity to get in the game and win the game, then he can do it for you. And the defense really has not done that a lot in his career. Maybe a couple of seasons with Khalil Mack there, and this season they've given him some chances to win. But last year you throw an interception, or you maybe kick a field goal in a time when you shouldn't kick a field goal instead of going for it on fourth down, whatever it is, the defense would always just give up a touchdown after that and kind of lose you the game. There's always those one moment that swayed it. So I don't know. You didn't really get that in this game, and you're going up against the Chargers team on Sunday Night Football, and I'm feeling okay about it. Not feeling great about it.
I feel pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Oh God, curb this season. I'll get to that later. It's awful. It was awful.
Yikes.
There was only one good episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carr connects with Renfrow on that 4th and 2, and I know that we'll see what happens with the playoffs. I just think Carr and Renfrow have something, man. They got a good connection going. This is probably the most reliable receiver he's ever had, next to Michael Crabtree at times. But Michael Crabtree didn't want to go back into the game against Philadelphia on Christmas Day. So I think you can't break this up. I know people, if they lose the Chargers, they'll be like, Carr did it again. He can't win a big game. This is the biggest game of Derek Carr's career. Next to probably the last time when he had a playoff chances against the Chargers, 2016, as my dad called it, the slice of blue game, where Michael Crabtree caught that touchdown in the slice of blue corner of San Diego. Were they in LA by that point? I mean, actually, were they in LA?
No, they were in San Diego.
Were they still?
Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't at the old soccer stadium?
No.
Okay.
No, it was in San Diego.
All right.
The good old days.
Yeah.
It's poetic, man. It's poetic that Derek Carr got that win on Christmas Eve over the Colts, and then they were on their way to the playoffs, and of course he breaks his ankle, and we got to see Connor Cook play the Houston Texans. Yep. Now he gets the win over the Colts, and he's on his way to the playoffs, and all he has to do is make his way past the Chargers, who have been prone to just not showing up some weeks. I'm so impressed. I really am.
And to get more conspiracy or weird or Pepe Sylvia about it, do you know the last time the Raiders were in a win and in scenario, who they played, how long ago it was?
Oh.
It is the game that torments me the most. Elena Matzorgas will tell you.
I don't know what.
10 years ago. 10 years ago, the last game of the regular season, all the Raiders have to do is beat the Chargers at home with Hugh Jackson and Carson Palmer, and they need the Broncos to lose to the Chiefs. The Chiefs kicked the Broncos' ass. Tim Tebow couldn't do anything. He gets sacked the whole game. And in the end, the Raiders lay a big, fat, stinky egg.
Yikes.
And that was one of the more crushing defeats of my lifetime as a Raider fan, because they have the Chargers pin at the 1 yard line. And they go like a 99-yard drive, and it just crushed me. And that was the game where Hugh Jackson said, I'm taking over this whole team, this whole organization. Then they fired his ass the next day.
Wow.
So, yeah, things have changed, but it's, kind of the same. 10 years later, we're up against the LA Chargers, and the Niners will go up against the LA Rams. We'll talk about more about that later, but it's just, it's weird with the Raiders being in Vegas, but it's interesting to have a SoCal, NoCal kind of, battle to get both these teams in the playoffs, but just focusing on the Raiders. What a huge, huge win to go into Indianapolis. And I'm with you, Steven. I thought prior to the game, and I still think so, the Colts are the second best team in the AFC. I know that the Titans may end up with the number 1 seed, but just as far as them running the ball and their defense, it's one of the more impressive Raider victories given everything that's happened this season and everything, just as far as the matchup. The Raiders are not as good as the Colts, and yet they went in there and won that game.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's proof really of what's to come it's a foreshadowing, I think, of what's to come in the playoffs, because a lot of these unexpected wins can happen. The 2 seed can face the 7 seed and then end up losing. Like it's very possible any given Sunday. As the cliche goes, yeah, you give the team an edge, you give them a mile. But that's my Al Pacino.
We'll die as individuals.
But Carr, how is anyone supposed to say that Carr's not going to be on this team anymore? I said it a few weeks ago. How could I say it then? Well, because the team was looking like they were in disarray. Everything sucked. He went through his worst.
I just like the way you did that, though. It's just like, who can say this shit? I did a couple weeks ago, but hey, forget that.
Exactly, man. This is what happens. Because look, when they had that loss to the Chiefs, I was so dejected. And at that point, I'm thinking, all right, blow everything up. But then you look at not everything, just the offense. But you look at his contract next year. They still have him under contract for his for the last year there. And I mean, if you manage to find a way to save that money and maybe build your offensive line, draft a couple of guys, I don't know. Like Leatherwood really frustrates me, and he had another one of those. Like he's getting better. He's gotten better as the season's gone on. He's shown flashes like that. There are a couple of runs with Josh Jacobs. I think specifically on that 4th down with Mariota, where Jacobs is crossing the line of scrimmage, and Jonathan Vilma and Kenny Albert are acting like it's all normal. They're saying, "Look, see, there it is." And it's like, no, dude, that's not normal for the Raiders. I haven't seen them run that sophisticated of a play in a long time.
Together.
Yeah, they are not good. But there was the false start with Leatherwood, and I've seen this a lot, and this is something that I think you can learn from. But there was a play earlier in the game where Darius Leonard got his stuff on the run, and he got past Leatherwood, and you see Darius Leonard just jawing off at the dude. You see number 53 going crazy, and he's looking at Leatherwood. He's talking trash, and then Leatherwood gets a false start on the next play. I have seen that. I can count you 5 times when that's happened. Not off the top of my head, but every single game, there's at least one of those moments. Well, maybe 5 games where there's one of those moments. But anytime there's a false start, it's because Leatherwood gets a little flustered. Yeah. He can. And that's something that he's going to need to work on. Colton Miller, solid on the left side. They need to get a change at right tackle. Brandon Parker, not good. I don't know if they're going to move Leatherwood back to that position because that's where he was supposed to play originally. And then after the first game,
probably will.
Yeah, they need something else. Then you had Andre James at center, who actually has looked very good. I got no issues with Andre James. It looks like he's really each game, each rep that he's gotten better with that. So I like the way that they look, but as long as Carr's there, just beef up that offensive line. Beef it up.
I agree, man. There's other holes in this team, and you don't need to give Derek Carr a new fat contract. Just there's other holes on the offensive line. And look at you. John Madden would be proud of you breaking down the offensive line like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know my stuff. Not really.
By the way, I knew this, but I didn't know this. Jalen Richard is still on the team?
Yeah.
Well, that was a blast from the past.
Oh, the random screen pass that goes for
Yeah.
30 yards because they can't tackle him because he's so small.
Oh, man, I love Jalen Richard. The Pocket Rocket. I don't know if you like that nickname my dad gave him, but
it was him and DeAndre Washington, and that was a hell of a
DeAndre
time.
Washington. God,
that was a hell of a time.
That was supposed to be the best running game in the league with Marshawn and them two. And it didn't pan out that way.
Yeah, we were kind of fooled by that one, huh?
Yeah. Won't get fooled again, Steven. But we did get fooled again by another Raider getting a DUI. And if you just look at the headline, Nate Hobbs. Is Nate Hobbs a rookie?
Yes.
So Nate Hobbs gets a DUI. And your first reaction is, how could he do this? How could he get a DUI after what happened with Henry Ruggs killing a person when he got a DUI? How could he do this? And that was my reaction. I was like, God, what are you doing? After a big win, you go ahead and drink, have a good time, but call an Uber or Lyft home. And then you read the details of what happened. Why in our country is it that a DUI counts when you are just sitting in your car? Because that's what happened with Nate Hobbs. This is like an Everyone Loves Raymond episode where Deborah was drinking too much and she slept in the car and she got arrested for DUI. I've heard this story a million times with people getting DUIs. It is ridiculous that just because you sit in your car and you're trying to sleep off the alcohol that's in your system and you don't want to kill anybody, that counts as operating a vehicle? I don't think so. So I don't think it's the same thing.
How far from the hotel was it?
I don't know the details of that.
The on-ramp, because my theory is that he did get in his car and he did start to drive. But there's no doubt that the team has had conversations with all those guys about what happened with Ruggs and how much weight is really on their shoulders to remain responsible. And I'm sure Bisaccia's been in the league for so long. He understands players want to go out. Players want to have a good time. But I'm sure after Ruggs, everything that happened with him, they had a lot of meetings about it. And Bisaccia mentioned that. My guess, and this is just me being the optimist here. Not really an optimist, but I don't know, whatever the word is.
Devil's advocate.
Yes. My guess is that Hobbs did get behind the wheel and was starting to drive and then maybe realized, this is not a good idea. I should not be doing this. Maybe he felt like he was good enough to get behind the wheel. Maybe he felt like that because that's what happens when people get DUIs. They just think, yeah, I could drive, no problem. And then he does get behind the wheel, starts driving and says, oh no, I'm not feeling good. And maybe he didn't think there was any other option than to pull over to the side. And I don't know if he just said, oh yeah, I'm going to sleep here for a little bit and then maybe wake up and I'll start driving again. I don't know, but I have a feeling that since he wasn't out on the freeway, that Henry Ruggs might have crossed his mind and he's thinking, okay, this is not a good idea. I shouldn't be doing this.
So he was parked on an off ramp, not like a park and go. Okay,
an on ramp. Yeah,
that's not good.
On the side, yeah.
Okay, didn't know that. That's not great, but good on him if he did to realize that this is not a good situation to drive in. He's young. People make mistakes. I'm not condoning
same
that
age as Ruggs.
What's up?
Same age as Ruggs.
Yeah, same age as Henry Ruggs. It's tough. You don't want to condone drunk driving. It's terrible. People lose their lives, obviously, with Henry Ruggs, with another person. But, I just think we got to know the situation before we react to it. It's definitely different. And hopefully Nate Hobbs, he should be punished for what happened. But let's not go ahead and condemn him for acting like it was the same thing as Henry Ruggs.
Right. Now, yeah, I agree. And it's a bad look. It's definitely a bad look. But the fact is, Raiders need him. They do. He's pivotal, man.
Got to cover those Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, man.
Yeah, and also you gotta tackle running backs. The one thing that he does that I haven't seen a Raiders corner do in a very long time is tackle and finish the tackle instead of just going in with a shoulder bump and you're like, what the hell are you doing? And letting the guy get 5 or 6 more yards. Dude is tough. So they need him, man. They really do. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if he's going to be allowed to play on Sunday night. I haven't heard any updates lately. So as it goes, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So this is the actual thing. Alon was going to have to text me this. He's watching us right now. Thanks, Alon. At approximately 4:09 a.m., Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department dispatch received a call reference a driver asleep inside of a vehicle, which was parked on the exit ramp of a parking garage located in 3500 block of South Las Vegas Boulevard. Arriving officers made contact with the driver, identified as 22-year-old Nathan Hobbs. He was given field sobriety test by patrol and failed. He was transported to Clark Country Detention Center, and he was booked for DUI misdemeanor. So, in the end, not a good look, not the best decision to make, but he knew that he needed to get off the road.
Yes, that's my guess. That I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt here before we go crushing him.
Yeah.
Other than that other player who I'm not really giving the benefit of the doubt to, I'm sure we'll talk about him too.
Oh man, that was fun and wacky.
My God.
We'll get to that a little later. But some news today involving the Raiders. They got a huge game, the biggest they've had since 2016 to make the playoffs. And you wonder what the future will be. You know, we all knew the story, all the situation coming in with Rich Bisaccia. He's an interim coach. You don't know if he's going to get the job afterwards, even if he takes the Raiders to the playoffs. It'd be nice if we lived in a perfect world, but Rich Bisaccia, great special teams coach. You don't know if you want him as the main guy going forward. And me and Alon were talking last week, and I brought this up with people. He seemed to believe that Jim Harbaugh may leave Michigan. And I was like, it depends what happens. And then you watch the bowl game, and Georgia just thoroughly thrashes Michigan. It's not even close. And my first reaction watching that game is Harbaugh's going to leave, because I hate to be reactionary like that, but they thought they were going to win that game. They thought that they were going to beat Georgia. And sometimes it just you realize it. Like, that's why so many guys are jumping ship in college. You don't have the same recruits that the SEC has. You can't compete with them. You never will. So when you're getting your ass kicked 34-11, you just sit there and realize, am I ever really going to compete with the Nick Sabans or anybody else in the SEC? And I thought, I was texting people, I'm like, I would not be the least bit surprised if this is Jim Harbaugh's last game as Michigan head coach. And it's not official yet, but Bruce Feldman is reporting that Jim Harbaugh is in discussions about leaving Michigan to join possibly either the Chicago Bears or the Las Vegas Raiders. And I'm not shocked one bit.
No. And I'm into it. I texted you that. I'm into it.
Yep.
I look, I think for me, one of the toughest things that I find when talking about sports, number one, talking about draft picks and how they're going to fare in their profession, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, whatever it is. I don't know. Like, that's just the thing. I don't know. These guys are all freak athletes in college. There's a reason why they're getting drafted so high. Should they pick them? I don't know. I know about positional needs. I know that, but I don't know about players. That's number one. But number two is coaching. Like, I don't know who would make for a good head coach. I know that I wouldn't want like a Mike McCarthy type. I know that would be bad. I thought John Gruden was going to be good. You know, I don't know. But when I see Jim Harbaugh and what he did coming from Stanford and leading the Niners to the Super Bowl, granted, they lost against his brother, and then he went to Michigan. I don't know. I like a head coach who has that intensity. I understand that he's one of those weird football guys.
Oh, yeah.
Those ones, like, that's what I liked about Gruden, was that he is a weird, strange football nerd. Like, that's all he thinks about. And it's the same with Jim Harbaugh. It's not like with, I mean, it's the same with Sean McVay too. Sean McVay is kind of that football nerd, weird football nerd. And
but he wants to seem like one of the boys.
Yeah. But I want the Jim Harbaugh type, the one who's kind of crazy, on the sideline. I like that. And I know that he'd be super tough. I like the fact that he used to play quarterback. That means that, he understands a lot of this game, because quarterbacks had to study more than anybody, especially a guy like that who wasn't a top tier quarterback. And, he was a starter, obviously, but, it's not like he was a Joe Montana type where it's just like, yeah, you're going to be a starter wherever you go. Like, the dude had to study. So when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, bring him on over. I do still I think Byron Leftwich would be great. I know the Jags talked to him. I like Byron Leftwich a lot. I think he could be a good head coach, but Jim Harbaugh already with the pedigree, I like it.
It makes sense. Jim Harbaugh was always in discussions with the Raiders going back to his days as being the quarterback coach in 2002 when he was underneath Bill Callahan and Mark Trestman coaching Rich Gannon. Yeah, I know, Mark Trestman.
Bill Callahan.
Yeah. You got to be the dumbest team in America.
Yep.
That wasn't a good line. But yeah, Jim Harbaugh's always been linked to the Raiders, going back to 2011 when they hired Hugh Jackson. He was in the mix, but Jed York made a better offer than Al Davis. Al Davis always wanted Jim Harbaugh to be the head coach of the Raiders, and this seems like a good move in the sense that you are, replacing a big figure like John Gruden with Jim Harbaugh, who's not the same. They don't, Jim doesn't call offensive plays. He's more of a motivator. And I think you want to have they want to sell Vegas. They want, this team to be big and shiny in Las Vegas. And Byron Leftwich doesn't bring that.
That's a great point.
I'm just saying, yeah, like they want a big time head coach, and to replace the guy that failed that you thought was going to be the not polarizing, but a big time, personality in John Gruden. You're doing the same thing with Jim Harbaugh. My question is he going to get along with Mike Mayock? Because there's already reports that Mayock is coming back. And Mayock is kind of the same personality as Harbaugh, where, he wants things his way and he's a football guy. He doesn't like dealing with the bullshit. I'd just be curious if Jim Harbaugh and Mike Mayock could get along together.
Yeah, I think they will. The only thing is Jim's probably going to say, hey, Mike, can you trade everything so that we can get Hutchinson? Can we get my guy, please? Can we bring him over? Can we bring number 97 over to the Raiders? What's his name? Aiden Hutchinson.
And Mike Mack will be like, no, we only do that with Clemson players.
Yeah. But that's no, you make such a good point though. And now that you talked about that with Vegas and Mark Davis, who, let's face it, he doesn't know anything. Like, he doesn't know anything about football. It's not like I say
and
that
you would agree.
I say that it's such a manly way. Like, he don't know anything about football. But I do think that he really hinges on to what his dad wanted. And if his dad, I didn't know that. If Al really wanted Jim, who was the number one guy that Al wanted back with the Raiders? Oh, it was John Gruden. And now if Jim Harbaugh was that guy, man, now it's just in my head that Jim Harden's going to be, or Jim Harbaugh's going to be the next Raiders head coach. That's it.
And Mark Davis will come out with a press conference again where it's a bunch of highlights of Jim Harbaugh, and he'll say, "This is a big effing deal again."
Oh my God. I forgot about that already. I was so stoked that day.
The press conference that my dad and Bonte weren't allowed to go to. All right. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Considering everything, Steven, isn't it just great that they're in this situation?
Yes.
To win on Sunday and get into the playoffs. We can, there'll be months to dissect whether or not they get Jim Harbaugh or not. But for the here and now, isn't it fantastic that through all the bullshit, they're in this position?
I can't believe they are.
Yeah.
I really can't believe it. I don't think we give enough credit to the mental toll that a season like this can have on a team. We always talk about travel. We always got personal stuff going on, the holidays, whatever. But everything that's gone on with this team this year, everything's gone against them. Like there's everything's been holding them back and trying to hold them back. And somehow they've been scraping through, winning 3 straight. And, winning against the Browns when they were with Nick Mullins as the quarterback. No, not very impressive considering they almost lost. Then you go against the Broncos, getting a win over Drew Lock. Not very impressive, but this win over the Colts, it completely shifted everything. I had no hope. I really didn't. Thought Jonathan Taylor going to run all over him. And then you see that stat on the graphic, which says the Colts they're undefeated when Jonathan Taylor runs for 100 yards. I think he's had like 9 games where he ran for 100. Well, now they're 9-1 when he runs for 100 yards or more. That's impressive, man. And they've continued to fight, and getting to this point in the season, it's tiring. And they still got one more week to play. Woo, boy. Now, I know earlier in the season it didn't look good against the Chargers. I know that. But actually, this game, it reminds me of that South Park Little League episode. It really does, where they're both trying to lose.
This is America?
Exactly. Because the Raiders and
Chargers. Oh, sorry, this was America.
They're so good at losing football games and finding ways to lose. It feels like it's the South Park Little League episode. And then you got, Randy, aka Random Raider fan who just wants to fight a Charger fan. And then you're going to have Bat Dad, aka whoever Mr. Charger is over there at SoFi Stadium, who's the loyal fan that they're not even going to want to watch the game. They're just going to want to fight. It's so perfect. It's poetic the way that it's happening. Now, jokes aside, I hope it's a good game. I really do. As long as it's competitive, I'm not going to complain about the season. They got a winning season with this group of guys, with this offensive line that Gruden just decided to completely break down because the players weren't bought in. I don't really know what else to say. I'm so happy with how it's gone. I'm very content with it.
Only thing to say is just win, baby. Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, full circle. By the way, the Chargers' biggest celebrity fans, they don't have any. When I went to the game a couple weeks ago when they're playing the Chiefs, you know who their biggest celebrity fans are? Keegan-Michael Key, who is a known Detroit Lions fan. They just paid him to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry O'Connell.
Wow.
From Jerry Maguire.
Wow.
Yep.
And Kangaroo Jack.
Never saw Kangaroo Jack.
And Kangaroo Jack, Anthony Anderson, let's go. And what was the other one? The Goonies.
Oh yeah, he was in the Goonies.
He was in that shitty Piranha 3D movie, which I've watched 4 different times. Yeah, I've watched it 4 different times, even though I've watched it 4 times. It sucks, but I like it.
By the way, Steven, we did a little wager last time you were on about the picks and the hot sauce. Have you acquired any new hot sauce?
Was I supposed to?
No, because we tied the next week, and we were going to go double or nothing. And because we tied, I texted you for a tiebreaker, and you were impossible to get a hold of, so we're just going to leave it as a tie.
Fuck, sorry.
It's all good. You had to get low to tell you that you're fat.
Yeah, it really weighed in on me.
Literally. All right, let's move on to the San Francisco 49ers. And leading up this week, you and Lowe talked all about it on 95.7 The Game about Jimmy Garoppolo and his, what are we calling this injury with the thumb?
Third-degree
torn
sprain.
Ligaments? What's
third-degree sprain.
Third-degree sprain.
Yeah. Everyone's going crazy saying that it's not the same thing. It is. Just Google it. Google grade 3 sprain. It's torn ligament.
You got to Google it.
You got to Google it. Yeah.
So, Steven, what was the reaction? Because I'm just assuming that Niners fans lost their shit and were like, yeah, Jimmy's hurt. Let's go, Trey. Is that the case? If that's the case, that's sick.
Actually, a lot of it was we need Jimmy to start against the Rams. Not so much against the Texans, but it was a lot of, who gives you the best chance to win and all of that. But here's my main question out of everything, because Trey got his start. He looked fine. He looked fine against the Texans. It's not like he did anything earth-shattering. But I wonder if for the fans who are calling Jimmy Garoppolo, if they're satisfied with this season. I mean, are you really? I heard all season long, or at least at the beginning, you and I even argued about it, and you were on the Jimmy Garoppolo side. You start him, he gives you the best chance to win, blah, blah, blah. But in the end, they're in the 6th seed. If they lose to the Rams and the Saints beat the Falcons, they're not in the playoffs. Yep. And you did that a majority of the time with Jimmy under center. So I'm wondering if you wanted him under center. I mean, are you happy with it? I'm not gonna throw out the hypothetical here that, oh yeah, Trey would have gotten you more wins, you would have had a better record, you would have already clinched a playoff spot. I'm not gonna go as far as to say that. But I just don't know what the expectation was. I'm not gonna say it was a waste of a season, because they still have a chance to make the playoffs. But I'm just watching Trey, and he looked okay against the Texans, but in the second half, that's when he started to pick things up. And I couldn't help but think, if you would have started this guy, then you would have at least given him some game reps, developed him a little bit. I don't know if they would have gotten the wins that they would have gotten this season. I don't know what their record would have been, but I would have felt a lot better going into next year, knowing that I had a quarterback with the season under his belt that I traded up for. I don't know. I watched that game, and I was just thinking, no, Trey doesn't look like the best quarterback ever. But here's the thing, and I texted you this. Tom Brady just ruined the way that we view rookie quarterbacks. He ruined the way that we view these guys because he just comes in and, gets a Super Bowl win as soon as he gets under center. Did he do that in his second year or his first year?
Second year.
Yeah,
But
he did it in his second year. So it's just everyone expects, oh, yeah, if you bring him in automatically, then they're going to win the Super Bowl, even if it's early in his career. It's just I'm baffled by fans I was baffled by fans at the time who were calling for Jimmy Garoppolo. And when I really think about it, it has not been that successful of a season. I know those guys have gotten hurt, but you have an MVP candidate in Deebo Samuel. George Kittle is George Kittle. He's looking like the best tight end in the league these past few weeks. Not so much this last week. He only got 2 targets in the game. You have a defense where the secondary sucks, but you got Fred Warner, Nick Bosa. The guys on the rest of the defensive line have been looking good. I don't know. I'm conflicted. I really am. I don't know what else to say because Trey looked good, though. Like, he looked like he can be a starting quarterback in the NFL at the very least.
Trey looked all right. At the first half, it looked like 2 struggling rookie quarterbacks with Davis Mills and Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked the game plan that Kyle Shanahan had for Trey Lance. They didn't do RPOs. He was under center a lot, and they ran the ball with Elijah Mitchell. They took the run away a little bit in the first half, and then Trey found his rhythm in the second half. I do want to point out right before halftime, there was a play that Trey Lance had where he throws the ball to Brandon Ayuk in the corner of the end zone, and Ayuk almost comes down with it right before halftime.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an accurate throw, but it's a beautiful throw. And that's kind of the yin and the yang of, he needs reps, but that's the arm talent he has. He can sneak that in, and when he gets on the same page as Brandon Ayuk, they're going to be a good team. Is it a lost season if they don't win against the Rams? What was the goal?
If you don't beat the Rams and the Saints win against the Falcons,
but that seems very likely to me.
Wow.
I mean, honestly, like we're going to bring this up, but between the Raiders' chances and the Niners' chances, I like the Raiders' chances to get to the playoffs a hell of a lot more than the Niners.
You think so? Even though the Niners have beaten the Rams like 5 straight times?
If Trey Lance is playing quarterback, yes, because Von Miller and Aaron Donald will get after him. They will take the run away, and they will force him to throw, and he won't know what to do against Jalen Ramsey.
Well, it depends, though. It depends. It depends how the defense goes. I don't think the game's going to go like it did last time, but if it does, where they started off with that touchdown where they went like on an 18-play drive that took 18 minutes or 11-play drive that took 18 minutes, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then they scored a touchdown on it, and then they follow it up with a pick 6 on Stafford. Then they're up 14-0. Then the Rams would score a touchdown right back to make it 14-7. But then the Niners would follow it up with another 11-play, 80-yard drive that would give them the 21-7 lead already in the first half. I don't think it's going to go down like that. But man, but then you started Jimmy Garoppolo the entire year, and you didn't even make the playoffs. And now all you got is a Trey Lance who doesn't look like he could beat a good team at the end of the season. Like it's a mess, man. Like,
but this is what the fans wanted. I mean, I listen to some people that say, let's have Trey play in the playoff games to give him a real shot to play. Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? You out of your skull?
You out of your skull? Nope, not doing it. Not doing it.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo gives the Niners the best chance to win against the Rams on Sunday. Now, It sounds like he's going to practice tomorrow.
Maybe.
But I don't think he's going to look good. I don't. And me and my dad got into it the other night when he was driving home from the game where I told him the Eagles clinched. And he's like, how do the Eagles clinch? How do the Eagles clinch and we didn't clinch? And I was like, because they have a better tiebreaker according to conference record, all that shit. And he's like, but we beat them. What's going on here? And I had to tell him, like, when it's, a 3-way tie between the Eagles and the Saints and the 49ers, the Saints and the Eagles will get in and not them. So the Niners are like, what the hell? Like, why are we in the situation where we were not going to make the playoffs because we beat a team that is going to the playoffs? This is bullshit. And they'll probably end up with the same record as us. But just as far as the game, like, Trey Lance, he hasn't played a lot in college. And he looked good, but he didn't look great. He had a nice bootleg touchdown pass to Elijah Mitchell. The throw he had to Debo that went for the touchdown was a great throw and a great, schematic play. But he needs a lot of work. And
you're gonna get it next year. And
yeah,
and
but
that's it.
But
You
that's
should have had
kind
it
of what
this year. Should have had it this year.
But that's what they signed up for. For whatever reason, the Niners franchise is in the mindset that they are just as good as they were 2 years ago, but they could be better with a better quarterback. And it's weird to me because they'll regress with Trey Lance at some point. They will. And I don't know, man. I wouldn't say that it's a lost season because you're on the verge of making the playoffs and very well could make the playoffs. But this is the plan from the get-go. They didn't care that they traded all those draft picks for the 3rd overall pick, and they're going to bench that quarterback for the majority of the season to have Jimmy just play 18 games or whatever it is now, 16, 15, because he missed 2. So in their eyes, it's not a lost season. For them to lose 4 in a row and to be back with the chance to win and you're in, they don't look at it as a failure. If anything, they'll just prepare for the future of what life is going to be with Trey Lance, and then they can, for whatever draft capital they get back from trading Jimmy Garoppolo, they got to fix the secondary. And that's a thing that, with the Rams, I mean, if Nick Bosa and Arden Key don't get to Matthew Stafford, I know Stafford's struggling a bit with turnovers here and there, but he will light them up.
Yeah.
With that secondary.
I will say it's a good time to be in the NFC. Like, I'm trying to think of, any good young quarterbacks like there are in the AFC. In the AFC, you got both those guys in the AFC West. You got Justin Herbert. You got Patrick Mahomes. And then, you go to the Colts. You got Carson Wentz. I don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. The Titans, not necessarily. I'm not really scared of Ryan Tannehill. Baker Mayfield, and whatever. Lamar Jackson, he's good. Joe Burrow, he's good.
He's better.
Yeah.
We'll get to him in a little bit, but good God, man.
Mac Jones looks okay. Tua Tagovailoa, you give him a decent offensive line, I actually think he could be okay in this league. The AFC's got a lot of young guys. In the NFC, who is it? You got Stafford and Wilson, then you got Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's probably the number 1 guy. Then what? You go to the NFC South. Falcons, Saints, I'm trying to think off the top of my head here. Why am I
Sam Darnold,
Carolina,
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady's still there. And then in the NFC East, you got Dak. But other than that, it's a good time to have. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is whatever.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, but it's a good time to be a young quarterback like that in the NFC. Like Trey Lance could easily make his way to being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC because really it's not that hard because there's not a lot of young budding talent there. Now next year we don't know. But there was one throw that he made in that game, and it was right out of the second half. It was a 3rd and 6. And it was a normal slant that they would have thrown with Jimmy Garoppolo, except they pushed it back like 5 yards. That's what it felt like Kyle Shanahan did, at least in the second half, not so much the first half. But he took the offense that he normally runs with Garoppolo, and it's like he pushed it back 5 yards, at least in the passing game. And there was this one throw that he made. He rifled it to Ayuk, and it looked like it went through 2 different defenders, somehow landed in Ayuk's hands. Ayuk made the catch. They get the first down. But I'm just thinking, Garoppolo makes that throw, and it's a little slower. The defender might have an extra half step on that. He could easily intercept that ball because it's a game of inches. So I just think there's a lot to look forward to, but I couldn't help but go back and just imagine, if they don't make the playoffs, then all right, Jimmy Garoppolo started, you got your wish, and you thought he gave you the best chance to win. You didn't win enough to get to the playoffs. That Thursday night game against the Titans was not good. Whoo! I don't know, man. Kyle Shanahan is it's a lose-lose for him either way. If Trey Lance plays well, then it's like, why didn't you play him all season? If Trey Lance plays poorly, then it's like, why didn't you play him all season and give him the reps? It's a lose-lose for him no matter what. So he's screwed. But
well, if Trey Lance plays and he plays well, then that's a big fucking deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is true. But then you'll get that sector of fans who are saying, why didn't you start him earlier?
Well, if you compare it to the Patrick Mahomes situation, Patrick Mahomes played the last game of the regular season, and the Chiefs already had locked everything up to go into the postseason. He played one game. That's it. Trey Lance has gotten 2 games to play and certain packages. he still has a lot to work on, and hopefully he gets the freedom to be the one and only guy next season for the 49ers. Because I know that there's rumors that I don't believe that they are thinking about bringing Jimmy back, but that can't happen. So,
do you really think that they can get some trade value for him?
Jimmy Garoppolo? Yes.
Yeah. You think so?
Teams like Washington, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, they only quarterbacks.
Why don't they just wait for them to cut him? I mean, they're only going to be there's only going to be a $2.5 million.
Yeah, he may be cut.
I mean, he's only going to have like a $2.5 million dead cap. Now, they got the thing with Lance too. I don't care how good of a quarterback you are, but if your offensive line is not good, you can end up like Mahomes in the Super Bowl, where you're just running for your life. And they got Trent Williams at left tackle, future Hall of Famer. He's on track to being a Hall of Famer. He's good. They got him under contract. Alex Mack, they got him for the next couple of years. Can he last for those next couple of years? I don't know. He's been okay the second half of the season. First half of the season, he didn't look good. But everyone else, Laken Tomlinson, who has been awesome. You haven't really heard his name like ever. You haven't heard Laken's name ever. Like he's been good. He's been good. Daniel Brunskill, he's been good. Then Tom Compton has done a nice job filling in with Mike McGlinchey. All three of those guys are free agents. Now, you can get them cheap, no doubt. But you also got a bunch of other free agents that you might want to sign. So I'm interested to see how they try and build that offensive line. That's got to be, in my opinion, that's got to be their number one priority. Is if whoever you don't have a first round pick, so if you do get that pick back, I mean, I don't know. Do you really want to rely on a third rounder? That's what they got. That's what they got Aaron Banks for in the second round, I guess, was to fill in that role. I don't know. As long as you have you got to get a good offensive line in front of this guy, and that might be the most obvious thing to say. But I don't know, man. I don't know. That's definitely why they're not keeping Jimmy around.
Well, I agree that they got to upgrade the offensive line, but secondary is atrocious. They got to get some corners. That'd be my number one priority.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Emmanuel Mosley's coming back. It looks like he's finally benched Josh Norman, who's just been awful. Ambry Thomas has gotten better with reps. Kind of funny how that works. K'Wan Williams is also a free agent, I believe. I actually think he's one of the best nickel corners in the league that nobody talks about. And he actually got put on the reserve COVID-19 list. I don't know I don't know whether he's going to play the next week. I think he will, along with Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward's up there too, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It's looking promising from the quarterback position, but you got to get some free agents, or you got to draft guys that can start right away, because they're gonna need it for sure. And I don't know. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I kind of took over.
No, you're fine. Take as much time as you want, because I am gasping for air. Yeah. Oh boy.
You do look like death.
Yeah. It's
if you want to end the show at any time, feel free. Or I could just sit here and talk for the next half hour.
Steven, the lone person watching this, needs us. We're gonna keep going.
Yes.
But real quick, to answer my question, who do you think has a better chance to make the playoffs between the two teams, the Raiders and the Niners? And we'll get into both of these games on Thursday as we do another podcast this week. But what do you think about between the one former Bay Area team and the lone team that's in the Bay Area against the LA teams? Who do you like better to make the playoffs?
I'd say I like the Niners' chances.
Really?
Yeah, I like the Niners' chances more, because I know the Raiders played very well against the Colts, but getting those other two wins, it was so close. And the Chargers, they seem to be hitting their stride. And I don't know.
After they lost to the Texans.
Yeah, well, I know that, but they just overlooked them. Like, they didn't even.
Well, they had COVID problems too.
Yes, and they threw a ton of interceptions. I don't know if that's going to happen with the Raiders. But I just think the way that Kyle Shanahan kind of has Sean McVay's number, and he's doing it in SoFi Stadium in Week 18, they've always shown that they can handle the Rams easily. Now, the second games of the season have always gone a little different, because anytime they played the first time through the season, you think it's going to go like that again. I remember in 2019 when they first played the Rams, it started off where the Rams were just, we hadn't seen it yet, where the Rams just drove downfield on this 49ers defense. And then they ended it with they ended the drive with a touchdown on an end around a Robert Woods. But then after that, it was nonstop punt, 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 punt. That's not how the second game went. But fast forward to now, the way that the Rams offense, Odell Beckham seems to be getting more comfortable with Matthew Stafford. Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp. Cam Akers didn't play last week against the Ravens, right?
No, but you might know.
But he could play. He could be coming back.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. What was it, an Achilles?
Yeah, considering that Klay Thompson had to wait a full year, and not to compare the two, because both, they're both two different human beings, but he tore this Achilles in July or August, and he came back.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that's insane.
What
about you?
I honestly think it's the Raiders. I throw everything out the window the last time both teams played. Second matchup, things get weird. You go against what you did the last time. That's why when, last week it happened, you missed the show, but Buffalo Bills go into New England, and it's a different story than the last time they played. Just happens sometimes where you switch up the game plan. I think the Rams, if Jimmy Garoppolo plays, they have a good chance to win as far as the Niners. But if Trey Lance plays, Raheem Morris is going to throw everything at Trey Lance. So, and even if Jimmy Garoppolo plays, Sean McVay used to have Kyle Shanahan's number when he entered the league. When both of them entered the league, it was McVay, I think, winning the first 4 matchups. So he could beat Shanahan.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not Stafford can just control the turnover game. As far as the Chargers and Raiders, and of course we'll talk about these games more because we got a whole week to talk about these games, but I think they have new confidence. It's hard to explain. They're not as good as the Chargers. They're not. But just winning 3 in a row gives you some confidence sometime. And they'll be at home. I don't think Charger fans will take over Allegiant Stadium, but I just like the Raiders' chances more than the Niners because they got to rely on winning a game on the road. And if they lose, you got to rely on the Falcons and what could be Matt Ryan's last game as a Falcon to beat the Saints. And I think the Saints are playing great defense right now. So I don't know. I like the Raiders' chances more, and this is no shocker to anybody because they'll just think I'm a Niner hater, but I think that the Raiders have a better chance to make the playoffs than the Niners.
Do you think that Shanahan and McVay are just talking shit to each other right now?
I don't think they talk at all.
You don't think so?
Nope.
I think they do.
I think it was made apparent when you listen to the Flying Coach podcast that Flying Coach with Peter Schrager. Hey, Peter.
I got the complete opposite impression from that, though.
My impression was that they were buddies when they were together in Washington, and now that they are in, rival franchises, that both kind of, they text here or there, but it's not the same anymore.
But it was that Stafford question, though.
Well,
because that's why I asked the question. Then he starts laughing.
No, I know,
but Shanahan's like, "You don't want to get me started, dude." And I'm like,
because he's pissed. Because he's pissed that he knows that his franchise, the Niners are a great franchise. I'm not going to deny that. The Niners are a fantastic franchise,
of course.
But he's mad that L.A. is more appealing than San Francisco to Matthew Stafford for whatever reason, and he was mad that he didn't get the conversation. Like it was already set up. Stafford was going to Cabo. McVay was going to Cabo. Andrew Whitworth was going to Cabo, and he's pissed because he lost out on the quarterback that he wanted. Kyle Shanahan, before anything else, Mac Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, he wanted Matthew Stafford, and his buddy took it from him, and he's pissed.
I disagree.
Okay.
We can agree to disagree on this one.
No, we can't, Steven. In today's society, I have to tell you you're an idiot for disagreeing with me.
I think him and Matt LaFleur definitely hate each other. There's no doubt in my mind.
I don't think they hate each other. At the end of the day, they're all friends. It's just a matter of animosity you have because one team gets a quarterback and you don't.
But it was the way that it was handled.
I know.
I disagree, man.
All right, agree to disagree, my friend.
Oh man, I just like to imagine Shanahan and McVay talking on the phone before the game, just talking mad shit to each other. I don't know. Be such a bro-y conversation between those two.
I think we make a big deal out of that stuff. It's not reality. Everyone expects that Belichick and Brady don't get along anymore. They probably love each other. They just got tired of each other. Happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we recap the week that was in Week 17? That usually ends the season. I gotta say, I am not feeling like, oh, this is too much football. Honestly, with another week to play, I thought I would feel this way working at NFL Network and doing all these games. I thought that I would get tired of it. And for whatever reason, maybe it's just no one's, the full clinch or, the different scenarios, and no team has really stood out, with probably the exception of the Green Bay Packers. I just don't think we have any finality to the season yet, and it's kind of nice we're having an extra week.
Yeah, but you also love football, though. That doesn't shock me at
burnout?
all. That does not shock me. No, not really. I just don't get it. Like, why?
More TV, baby.
I mean, that's it. I don't know. I'd rather have it back to week 17 so I could stop saying 9 and 8. I hate
Yeah,
that.
that is weird, but get ready for 19 weeks of football.
Ugh.
It's going to happen.
Oh,
but for the
man.
here and now, let's talk about week 17 in the NFL. And the Eagles clinch a playoff berth after they beat Washington. They bring their bench to the sideline. I never get that shit. They probably should have put the bench in the stands, because the stands fell apart and a bunch of Washington or Philly fans fell on Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts had to write a letter to Washington today telling them this shit's unacceptable. Good for Jalen Hurts, but in the end, the Eagles clinched the playoff berth and they beat Washington 20-16.
Not gonna lie, I didn't watch any of this game.
That's fine, but have you ever
What
seen
happened? What happened?
So, in the game or the collapse of the stands?
I saw the collapse. What happened in the game?
Eagles defense played really well. They ran the ball well with Boston Scott. I don't really like them going forward. They're a nice, they'll be a 9-8 team because they have so many COVID issues this week. They're probably going to rest everybody against the Cowboys on 2 Saturday night games. Steven, you ready for that? I know you're excited.
Ready. I'm very ready for that.
All right, then.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just, Eagles defense played well. Jalen Hurts didn't do anything amazing.
Gotcha.
I don't know what the QB situation will be with them going forward, but yeah. Have you ever seen stands fall apart like that in an NFL game? And
No.
Fans shouldn't be like hanging on the railings, but that shit happens all the time. So they just collapsed, and Jalen Hurts is like, "Let's keep taking this picture, everybody."
Yeah, I've never seen that before, though.
That was crazy. And by the way, to go against the bad PR that situation brought to the Washington football team, they won't be the Washington football team anymore in a couple weeks. They're going to get the name announced.
What didn't someone like accidentally leak it?
No, not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I thought it was like a.
Do we know?
Isn't it I forgot. I don't even want to say it because I just don't know. I think it was like I saw someone kind of tease it, but oh god, I'd have to pull it up. I'd have to.
No,
pull it
good.
Up. I don't
hey, we'll be surprised when we find it in a couple weeks, and it'll probably be terrible.
I saw someone call them the Washington Blurs just because it was blurred out in the video that they posted, the promo video. It was fake. He's acting like he's handing the name to the thing, and it's blurred out. Yeah.
Blur was a good band.
Oh, woohoo!
Yeah. All right. The Rams, the team that will face against the Niners on Sunday. Last 2 weeks, Stafford has been the ultimate gunslinger, just turning the ball over, giving it back to the other team. In the end, makes touchdown passes to win the game for him. Despite the fact he threw 3 picks against the Vikings, they win the game. Despite the fact he threw another pick 6 to make it 4 on the season. He comes back and throws a touchdown pass to Odell Beckham, and Cooper Kupp is on the cusp of breaking a bunch of receiving records, but he even says that they shouldn't count given the extra game. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think of the Rams surviving against Tyler Huntley and the Ravens?
Well, I think it just goes to show that whatever that stat was about how the Rams, anytime they lose the turnover battle, that's when they lose the football game. That's kind of proof that it's not necessarily true anymore. And I was looking through it. We haven't really seen too much of, we haven't had to see too much of fourth quarter Matt Stafford. Not a lot of close games with the Rams this year. A lot of them have been not blowouts, but not to the point where it's just like, oh yeah, you get a touchdown, you tie the game. Like, not a lot of those situations for him this year. I know he's been great in the fourth quarter, but not to the point where he's had to come back. So, he's
done it before.
Yeah, no, of course. He's
like there's the classic him mic'd up where he dislocated his shoulder.
Yeah.
I know people are shitting on Matthew Stafford, and the comparison to Jerry Goff is just killing me. Look, he's going to do this. Peyton Manning did this. Guys throw interceptions sometimes. It's a new offense for him, and he's adjusting to life without Robert Woods and now with Odell Beckham. I think that game was telling in the fact that he'll make stupid decisions like that. But in the end, he made the touchdown pass to get him the victory. And I think they have so much talent on that team. They're going to be a scary team going forward if Matthew Stafford just gets a little less turnovery.
And the key is also not just Aaron Donald, but Von Miller. Von Miller is finally getting sack numbers up. Had a couple of sacks in this one against Huntley. So that's going to be a key for them. They are a scary team in the NFC, but the NFC just so wide open to me. I know the Packers are the number one scary team because of what they did on that night game when they were playing in 10-degree weather and Aaron Rodgers was just toying with them. But I don't know. It's weird. There's not like any elite teams this year that I'm looking at.
I agree. That's why I think it's cool to have the extra week to see what develops. But if I had to pick one, I would pick the Packers as the number one seed in the NFC. Yeah, you know who's going to be the number one seed in the AFC?
Who's that?
The Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
If the Chiefs beat the Broncos, it doesn't matter. If the Titans beat the Houston Texans, the Tennessee Titans with Ryan Tannehill and what's that wide receiver? Nickel Westbrook, whatever.
Yeah.
And Dante Foreman are going to be the number one seed in the AFC. And they may get Derrick Henry back. He's practicing tomorrow. He's going to practice tomorrow. They're getting Julio Jones off COVID. He hasn't looked great. A.J. Brown had that amazing game against the Niners a couple weeks ago. If the Titans get the number one seed, I don't really trust them going forward. They have a great defense, but to get Derrick Henry back at this time, I mean, again, like if they were to face the Chiefs or the Bills or the Colts, I like those teams better than the Titans.
Whew.
But that's scary, though, the fact that they're getting Derrick Henry back in home field.
Hey, man, they beat a Miami team, which has been very good this latter half of the season.
They played the right teams at the right time.
This is very true. This is also true. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Henry. It all depends with Henry, right? I mean, he's the X factor there. If he's in, then I like their chances. If he's not, then I don't really like their chances. It's really that cut and dry. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't watch a ton of that game against the Dolphins. I saw a couple of highlights here and there, but I don't know, man. The team that scares me in the AFC, and they're going to continue to scare me, are the Chiefs. Are the Chiefs. I know that the Bengals beat them 34-31, but are we going to get to a new point in the NFL now where instead of like fourth downs is the new wave, right? That's the progressive way of thinking. Are we going to get to the point where letting the other team score is appropriate because of how good some offenses are? If the Chiefs would have just let the Bengals score instead of letting them take all the time off the clock on that final drive of the game so they could go and kick the field goal, I'm liking those chances for the Chiefs to go back and score again.
I'm with you, but then they're lucky they won that game. And I'm with you. I like the Chiefs going forward despite the fact they lost that game to the Bengals. And that's a huge win for the Bengals. They won the division after Joe Burrow tears his ACL and MCL a year ago. He comes back. You know, I think Nick Bosa had a great season, but given the circumstances, I would give the Comeback Player of the Year award to Joe Burrow. And 2 weeks in a row, he throws no interceptions, over 400 yards. He throws for 500 yards the week before, 4 touchdowns, 8 total. And I hate this phrase, but it's so Jamar Chase is really good, but I hate when people say like he's a cheat code. Ugh, fucking stupid. He is amazing.
God, give people a break, man. This thing is a cheat code. It's no big deal.
I hate it. It's stupid.
I get the GOAT thing because it's overplayed, but the cheat code, I guess you do need to come up with something new. We've been using cheat code for like the past 10 years. It needs to go away.
10 years. I feel like it just happened. I'm that old.
Oh, it's happened. You're not old, Derek. Jesus, stop
I'm old
wanting
and slowly dying, Steven. This booster is taking a hold of me.
You have this weird need to be old. It's odd.
It's not a need. It's happening. I'm dying as we're doing this podcast.
You are dying. It's okay.
But yeah,
God, Jamar Chase is a beast, though.
Yeah,
man.
he's fantastic, and he'll win Offensive Rookie of the Year. That 3rd and 27 he caught, all those touchdowns, just amazing. And the Chiefs' defense has been good, but to let that guy go for 266 is alarming.
Yeah.
But I still like the Chiefs going forward. To answer your question about letting teams score, the Bengals almost blew that game by going for it on 4th and goal, and they got a penalty in the end zone. What was their thinking there?
Yeah. I don't know, man.
It's baffling to me, some of these decisions that coaches are making. But great win by the Cincinnati Bengals. Josh Allen throws 3 picks against the Atlanta Falcons, but this is and whether you watch the game or not, Stephen, but it angers me, and I know I brought this up before, but the Buffalo Bills, they're on the right track. They'll probably win the AFC East if they haven't already. I think they're tied with the Patriots, but they got to win one more game to clinch it. It's snowing. It's snowing in Buffalo, and they keep throwing the ball like it's their only way to score. And Josh Allen throws those 3 picks, and then it just clicks in Brian Dable's head. Hey, maybe we should run the ball a little bit, and then they win. Good Lord.
Yeah, I know. Devin Singletary was a monster in that game. He was a beast.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Patriots dominate the Jaguars. No shocker there, but Trevor Lawrence throws 3 picks and Mac Jones throws 3 touchdowns. And back to your evaluating quarterback stuff with Tom Brady and just everything through the years, we don't really know. We don't know. And Trevor Lawrence could be a great quarterback going forward, but it's just amazing to me that everybody just shit on Mac Jones, and now he's taking this team to the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, it's also the reliant though on the run game, right?
Yeah.
Like that's part of the reason.
Damian Harris,
DeMontre Stevenson, I think that's his name. They've been fantastic, and then you got Jakob Johnson, the fullback. I love that Jakob. And their defense has been good this season, so it's not all on Mac Jones. Mac Jones he's okay. He cooled off in the second half of the season when he was just going on a tear. But I'm never really counting out Bill Belichick in the playoffs. So even the Patriots might scare me. I mean, they could easily get you 1 win if you give Bill Belichick enough time to game plan for you. I don't care who you are. He can get a win against you.
I agree. We'll see what the Patriots do in the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. But just to run through some of these other games, Chargers show their full potential and just beat down the Denver Broncos to set up the game against the Raiders on Sunday night. The Saints still in the playoff mix, obviously. They just beat down the Carolina Panthers, and I think that the Saints have a fantastic defense. They got screwed with Ian Book playing a couple weeks ago. They should beat the Falcons, but we'll see where that game goes. Cardinals get right finally after dropping 3 in a row, and they beat the Cowboys. Cowboys already have the division locked up. They slide down to the 4 seed, but they'll be okay. The Cardinals need to show some life before they make the playoffs. And the Packers clinch the number 1 seed in the NFC, beating down the Green Bay Packers, or beating down the Minnesota Vikings with Sean Mannion. And Aaron Rodgers looks like he's going to win MVP despite being canceled by the woke mob.
That's crazy. That's crazy, isn't it? I love how Chris Collinsworth just totally dismissed everything that Jonathan Taylor did throughout that broadcast. He's just thinking, Aaron Rodgers is going to win the MVP.
Well, he's being realistic, though.
Yeah, he is. I can't believe it's happening.
But honestly, he's more inclined to win the MVP, and Jonathan Taylor's more inclined to win Offensive Player of the Year or Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
I don't think it's right, but that's just the way that they vote in the NFL.
No, you're right.
And then Big Ben has his farewell game at Heinz Field.
Finally.
Did you get sad watching Ben cry?
No, I got more sad watching Ben play throughout the season.
Yeah, I know.
God, he's looked like he's needed to retire for the past 2 years. No offense, Ben, even though I'm giving you a ton of offense right now. But it's the Steelers are, they're in a good place with Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's a good coach, hasn't had a losing season yet, and everyone's talking about that. But, I mean, where are they going? They got TJ Watt, who's fantastic, who locked up the Defensive Player of the Year in that game.
He's going to break the record for sacks.
Yes.
And it's fair because he missed 2 games, so it'll be the same amount that Michael Strahan played in.
Yeah. But you need
one less, actually.
Like you mentioned earlier, though, you got to know when to hang them up. And the Steelers, they had a tough time saying goodbye to Ben, which is hard. I don't blame them. There is a human element that comes into it. It's like, hey, you really want to just release the guy that's gotten us however many Super Bowls ever since 2004. It's really hard. But I've just gotten sad watching him play. I'm happy for his career. I'm happy that it seemed like he retired the way that he wanted to, and the send off that he got at that game. I'm happy for him there. Not always the best dude. not the biggest moral compass of all time, but I don't know, man. I was just like, finally, this is about time.
Yeah, we'll talk more when he officially retires, but I'll always remember Ben Roethlisberger being annoying to watch because he would just hang on the ball for way too long. He was a great player, but he just annoyed the crap out of me with how long he would hang on to the ball. I'm like, get rid of it, Ben. Good Lord. And then, of course, there was a time that Richard Seymour just laid him out after a play. You remember that? Yeah, just
Yeah. Give him a little uppercut.
0-4 against the Raiders in Oakland.
Yeah. Shout out to Bruce.
Oh, yeah, Bruce Rakowski.
Yes.
And then Baker Mayfield. I mean, like, Ben Roethlisberger looked bad, but Baker Mayfield looked terrible last night. Terrible.
Yeah, but the dude landed on his shoulder in a way
I
where I thought
understand that. But why is he playing then? He sabotaged this whole season just so he could play. And there's moments last night where I'm like, and everybody else just like, why aren't you giving the ball to Nick Chubb?
Yeah.
And it seems like Baker Mayfield just needs to get his fix in of throwing constantly. He sucks. Now, I wouldn't get rid of him, but I would also give him some competition. Maybe Mitch Trubisky or a good backup quarterback.
Woo! Mitch Trubisky to the Browns. Look at you.
Yeah, throwing things out there.
Solving all their answers.
And now to end on this, Steven, the week that was in week 17. Buccaneers beat the Jets. Terrible fourth down call by Robert Saleh with the 4th and 2 up the middle. Don't know what the hell he was thinking there. He could have kicked a field goal.
Did you see him call out the coaches though?
Shot Saleh?
Yeah.
What'd he say?
He said there was a miscommunication. Our coaches need to be better with that.
Then call timeout, Saleh. That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. Sorry.
But
let's get to the pivotal point of the game. It wasn't really the game. I mean, Tom Brady throws a great touchdown pass to get to 40 again in back-to-back seasons to Cyril Grayson, and he'll probably be their guy going forward because Antonio Brown decided to leave the game, taking off his shoulder pads and his helmet, and the helmet that he so desperately needed to get when he was on the Raiders. And he walks off the field with his bare chest. I was hoping Kevin Harlan would do the game because when he ran on the field, I was hoping there's a guy on the field. He's bare-chested. He's in the end zone. It's Antonio Brown. But yeah, one of the more unbelievable displays I've seen in sports.
I mean, this dude, Antonio Brown's just been given nonstop opportunity after opportunity, and he squandered every one of them. With the Raiders, went to France, froze his feet, came back, eventually got released, made a YouTube video about it. By the way, I'm just seeing your microphone in front of your face now. It's a very good view for the one viewer that we have here watching the live stream. Actually, we might have a couple more. But it's so hard for me to look at the whole mental health thing. And we're taking Antonio Brown's word for what he said about being hurt, where Bruce Arians went after the game on the podium and said that, look, I told him he wasn't going to play, and if he is not okay with that, then for him to get off the field. That's what he said, right? I just want to make sure. That's what I want to make sure. But then, like, he said that he didn't feel right. But did you did the game though? I mean, I
did the highlight. It came out of nowhere.
Didn't Brown play? Didn't Brown play?
Yeah, he played. He was targeted 5 times before that incident. And we got a shot of Brady saying something to him on the sideline along the lines of, "Are you good? Like, you ready to play?" And he, like, nods and, like, says, "Yeah." I don't know what's up with Antonio Brown, but I will say this. It's one thing to have mental health problems. It's another thing to act like an asshole. And it just doesn't give you the right to do that. Sorry. You can, if you're dealing with stuff, then, let it be known and go seek therapy and whatever. But just to,
do what Calvin Ridley did.
Yes.
You can take a leave from the team. That's totally fine. No one blamed Calvin Ridley for that.
Exactly.
Like, at all. That's all. If you were having issues, then don't play.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, man. I understand where in today's day and age and how it should have been prior to this, but we need to be more aware of mental health struggles, and watching someone go through a crisis instead of laughing at them, we need to support them. But we've seen this dude go through a struggle. We went through this already.
Yeah.
Where it's like clearly he's going through something, and everyone's throwing out the Vontaze perfect hit every time as the reason. And sure, you can pinpoint that as the one moment, but this has just been ongoing and stacking on one on top of the other. And it's just, where do we draw that line? Like you said, man, like, where do you draw that line of, all right, well, this guy needs help versus, oh, well, he's a narcissist and he's selfish and he just does whatever he wants, no matter what, even if he gets help. I don't know, dude. I really I don't want to say anything bad about the guy because he's a human being and I'm supposed to respect him, but it's just it's 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 just nonstop with him, and he made a fool of himself. And quite frankly, he did something that all of us wanted to do.
Just leave.
Haven't we all had a job where we just wanted to get up and quit, pull a Scarface from Half Baked? You know, fuck you, fuck you.
You're cool.
You're cool. We've all wanted to do that.
Oh, I mean, hey, props to him for that, but this is a team sport.
But
like,
it's messed up, dude.
Yeah, it is.
The reason you don't do it is because you know and you understand that it's messed up.
Yes. And it reminds me of a little bit when Vontae Davis, during a game against the Chargers, I want to say a couple years ago, 3-4 years ago,
Yeah.
he left at halftime, just got on his card and said, "I retire." And that's a little better. Like, you just say, I can't do it anymore. And they're like, okay, that's what you feel. That's what you feel. But during the middle of a play, they were like running down the field. Like it was a drive was going on. And
Cameron Brate just got a pass.
Yes. And he's just doing this in the end zone. It was, and you know what? I really don't feel like giving a pass to a guy that's had so many chances. And, you could say allegations are allegations, but this is a guy that was accused of rape. This was a guy that has been accused of other things, and he's not a great guy.
Had a video of him showing like him going on a tantrum with his, I think it was his girlfriend at the time. And there's an actual video of him doing it in front of all of his kids, or in front of his kid. But it's just, you really gotta, I get it. CTE, like that has something that might have something to play in here. Okay. But
then get help.
The Bucks still have him. The Bucks still have him. They still have the rights to him.
Well,
someone's going to sign him. Josina Anderson said that he's not out of the NFL yet. Someone still could take him, and
I don't think the Bucks are going to release him.
Oh, no.
I think they're going to suspend him for the rest of the season, so he's not rewarded with his behavior to go sign to another team.
That's what I believe. As they should. And I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of with a guy like this. We give so many passes to guys in the NFL. Tyreek Hill, for example. How do you have an audio recording of this dude threatening his girl and also being in trouble in college by choking his pregnant girlfriend at the time? How can you have proof of this stuff, yet we still give passes to these guys because they're freaking talented? Like, he takes off his pads, he takes off his shirt, he's got like a six-pack, he's got like a body that you and I dreamed that we could have.
We talk about I have that body.
You're right, you do, because you have 2 treadmills in your room. But like, I don't know where I'm going from here. It's like I think I saw like Malcolm Gladwell tweet something out about I'm so surprised by people being so quick to rush to judge Antonio Brown. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. It would be
Malcolm Gladwell doesn't watch enough football to realize all the shit this guy's done.
No, he does not. Shout out to Malcolm Gladwell though. Hope you come out with another book.
Yeah. But Antonio Brown, like he got the benefit of the doubt with the Vax card. He forged the Vax card. And wherever you stand on that issue, fine. But don't pretend like you're vaccinated and go around showing a fake Vax card. And that's just despicable. And they were going to let that go. They were going to let that go. And in the end, it wasn't enough for him. He threw a temper tantrum. He put out a rap single later that day. And he went to the Nets game. Like nothing happened. I'm honestly kind of expecting him to be like Larry David when, the story about when Larry David left SNL?
No.
So it's the same thing that happened in Seinfeld. There's an episode where George Costanza leaves his job in like fantastic fashion, just yelling and screaming. And he's like, "You're an idiot. You're an idiot." And I quit. And he goes back to hang out with Jerry. And Jerry's like, "You really should have thought this out before you did this." And he goes, "Wait, what if I just go back on Monday and act like nothing happened, like it was a joke?" And he does that. And everybody's like, "Didn't you quit?" Same thing happened to Larry David in real life. He left SNL, threw a temper tantrum because his sketches weren't being picked, comes back on that Monday, and Lorne Michaels like, "Didn't you quit?" And he's like, "No, I was just blowing off some steam. We're all good." I would not be the least bit surprised if Antonio Brown shows up to Buccaneers practice being like, "Hey, so we're going to win this game against the Panthers, everybody?" And it's like, "Didn't you just like throw a hissy fit and throw your pads and left your shoulder pads behind?" "No, I was just blowing off some steam."
Yeah. And it's not like he was alone either. Like Mike Evans tried to help him.
Mike Evans tried to help him.
Dude, this isn't you could tell he was saying something along the lines of, "Dude, what are you doing? This isn't the right move. Like, don't do this here, not now." So
it was.
Look, I agree.
It was crazy.
Get the guy help. Like, get the guy help, sure. But I'm going to react the way that I'm reacting after every single chance that they've given him in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's tough for me to find empathy for him.
I'm with you on that one, Steven. We'll wrap things up. I know there's more things we want to get to, but we also got another show this week, so we got plenty of time to talk
We
about
do,
other
and
stuff.
you're kind of dying.
I'm slowly dying, but you wanted to talk about Ken Rosenthal real quick.
Yeah, I just think that Major League Baseball and everything that's happened, if you don't look up the details of it, that's fine because a lot of people don't care enough about baseball. But Ken Rosenthal is that guy when you're watching the playoffs and he's got the bow tie. Like there you go. That's it.
Nobody talking about bow tie.
We're talking about bow tie. Shout out to School of Rock. And he's a great writer for The Athletic, but they fired him from the MLB network. And you know what? Derek, let me just pull this up because I was so entrenched with our fantastic conversation.
Pull it up.
That I want to make sure I get the details right here because they fired Ken Rosenthal, MLB Network did, and we know that MLB Network is fully owned by Major League Baseball. And the reason that Ken Rosenthal was fired was because he critiqued Rob Manfred. I don't know, man. It's just baseball can't get out of its own way. Everything they do is just a mistake. This lockout looks terrible. Talks haven't been ongoing at all so far. Already ruined a birthday trip. Jessie has her birthday coming up. She's supposed to go to spring training. We were all going to go to spring training in March. We had a huge thing, and spring training is most likely not going to happen. So all of just everything, one on top of the other. Baseball is, it's my favorite sport growing up, but the way that it's run, it's just so embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I like MLB Network. I think their programming is great, but if you're going to fire the guy just because he critiqued you, whatever, man. I'm like, Rob Manfred needs to be done. There's not going to be any changes to baseball. Everyone's wondering, when's baseball going to change? When's baseball going to change? Well, number one, you need to get a new commissioner, a guy who knows what he's doing. Because this dude, the way that he handled the Astros situation, the fact that the pay discrepancy when they were having a 60-game season during the COVID year, he handled that very poorly. He's shown time and time again that his leadership is not there. And now when he's critiqued about it from one of his people, goes ahead and fires him.
Yeah.
It's just such a monopoly, man, and I'm frustrated for it. I hope Ken Rosenthal gets a job.
Oh, he will.
Just stick it in his face.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. Sports books are getting big with betting and everything. There's rumors that Adam Schefter was going to leave ESPN to go work for Caesars to do updates.
Really?
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Ken Rosenthal gets a job with some sports betting agency.
You know what he needs to do?
What does he need to do, Steven?
Pretend that he's going to give an apology to Rob Manfred, right? So he goes up to him, man to man, face to face, and he's wearing a bow tie. Oh, but it's not a normal bow tie. It's one of those Joker Riddler type of bow ties where he clicks a button and something squirts out of it like some sort of acid.
Whoa, hold on. Water. Water's okay. Acid would kill him, Steven.
That's true. Good point. Sorry, I don't want to kill Rob Manfred, but just like whipped cream, something funny, shaving cream, whatever it is, just in Rob Manfred's face. Boom. Sorry, acid was way out of bounds. Very sorry, Rob. Don't mean to do that. I like you, sort of, not really, but
I get it. You don't like the guy, and he, man, this is something that's wrong with sports, and we'll have time to talk about this in the off season a bunch.
Little reckless on my part there.
No, it's fine. It's just synergy is killing a lot of media outlets. I'll put it that way. Synergy is killing a lot of media outlets. Whatever profession you're in, whether it's sports or news, when one company owns another company, you're not allowed to tell the whole story. And it sucks.
Yeah,
it really does.
Just a fact.
All right, man. Well, thank you to everyone watching and putting up with me today. I'm going to lie down after this and take a nap that hopefully takes me until the next morning when I can wake up and hopefully feel better to go to work. But Steven, we had fun today. We'll come back on Thursday and we'll talk about Klay Thompson coming back on Sunday during football. Is this a good idea? 6.
Yeah. It's a number he threw up.
What?
After he did you not see it where he warmed up with the team and then walked off the court with holding up 6 because there's 6 more days until he comes back. By the way, you're the only person. You're the only person who hates this. By the way, you are the only person, only one.
But it's football's gonna kill this. You know how big this is. Klay Thompson hasn't played basketball in 2 years since I left the Bay Area, and they're gonna do this on NFL Sunday. And this isn't going to lead Sports Center? Come on.
We'll talk about it on Thursday.
We'll talk about it on Thursday. Until then, everybody, I'm going to lie down and sleep. Steven, say what you always say.
It's just our opinion thing, man.
I'm dead.